We've been waiting for quite some time for Marlowe's magazines, and they're finally here. It feels like not too long ago, rumors were only swirling about these books, whispers that they might be coming in 2025. The time is finally here. My employers, Vanishing Ink, have re-released all of the Marlowe's magazines in a brand new 6-volume book set. If you've studied magic at all, there's no doubt that you've heard the name Ed Marlo. But if you're like me, you may not have studied him all that much. That is getting ready to change. Marlo is a legend in the field of magic, and he's well known for creating over 7,000 different card tricks and techniques. These 6 influential volumes on card magic were published between 1976 and 1988. Despite the title Marlowe's Magazine, they're not periodicals at all, but instead substantial hardbound books. Each one over 300 pages. But let's back up just a little bit. Why the title? What is it? And should you be interested? In the 1970s and 80s, Marlo was getting kind of tired of traditional magic publishers. He felt like they were delaying his material, or didn't have the same zeal that he did to see something put into print to share with other magicians. So basically, to remedy this situation, to ensure prompt publication and that he could publish basically anything he wanted, Marlo chose to self-publish his most significant contributions as a series of magazines. Each one was hand-numbered by Ed Marlo himself and limited to only 300 per volume. The scarcity, combined with the exceptional quality of the material, made them highly sought after for decades to come. These books are well known for their depth, and most of the material is going to be for the serious student of card magic. Now, that's not to say that everything is knuckle-bustingly difficult. However, Marlo did not shy away from deploying elegant and even technical sleight of hand. However, he did provide many versions of different tricks, so while this will appeal to the hardcore cardicians, as he called them, even if you're just an inspired intermediate, you'll likely be able to find a method that works for you. This series introduced a number of highly influential tricks and techniques that have become staples in the field of card magic. For example, you've probably heard of Marlowe's convincing control. Well, that's taught here in Volume 3. His deal switch, a gambling technique. The Marlo curry change, a variation of the curry swindle switch. A myriad of versions of the oil and water plot. Mental cards across, the punch deal, the unit upjog edition, the KM move and its many variations. Basically, if you're into card magic sleight of hand techniques, these books are a treasure trove. Normally when we discuss books here on this channel, I read them cover to cover before I ever talk to you about them. However, in cases like this, it's simply not possible. There's just way too much information here. But I still want to talk about a few details that will help you make a decision about whether or not these books might be for you. Let's cross off a few things right off the bat. The first is, who's this for? It's for people who are serious about sleight of hand card magic. Most of this material is going to be things that you would perform close up with a packet of cards. Of course, some of it will be adaptable to bigger venues, but the vast majority of this is all going to be for close up. As far as the difficulty level, I've already established that this really isn't for beginners. And there's a couple reasons for that. One is the amount of work that it's going to take to get some of these different sleights down. But then the second part is the writing style. Marlo didn't get the nickname The Professor. That doesn't mean he was a bad teacher, but when you read this material, it's not going to be that Harry Lorraine sitting with you, hearing his voice, walking you through exactly what you need to do. Instead, it's going to require a little more concentration based on the way Marlo wrote. That shouldn't be off-putting to you, but I want you to know that it's not going to be your first magic book. While it's all card magic and therefore doesn't have that much variety of the props, where you will find variety is in the way that he shares his opinions about other things going on in the world of magic at the time. Marlo isn't afraid to use some ink to share his opinions, especially of other magic publishers. And it makes for some pretty interesting reading, especially in hindsight. If you, like me, are new to the world of reading Ed Marlo books, then I'm going to make a recommendation for you. You need to open up Volume 3 and turn to the very first thing listed there under Solomon's Mind. Dave Solomon was a fellow Chicago magician and creator who worked very closely with Marlo to help bring some of these magazines to life. This gave him a unique perspective, and he wrote the intro to Volume 3, effectively telling you how you should study Ed Marlo material. Here are some of his tips. He tells you right off the bat, don't try to read this from cover to cover. Instead, he encourages you to jump around. Use the table of contents to look at what interests you, then get into that. And if you read something, check the effect out. See if it's something you could even see yourself performing. If you do like it and you end up reading it but think it's too difficult, look at one of the other variations because there's probably a way to make this easier for you. Basically, he suggests index or table of contents, effect, and then method. And don't be afraid to jump around and even revisit. There's more to the article there, so I'll leave that to you. But if you're someone who is wondering, well, how does one even read all of this? It's not intended to be read from cover to cover through all 6 volumes. And in fact, I don't plan to. So I will say that that might mean I'm not completely qualified to discuss this material and tell you whether it's for you or not, which is why I'm going to leave it up to you based on the information that's out there. And certainly if you have questions, feel free to comment down below and I'll do my best to try to answer them either in those same comments or via my newsletter, the Erudite Magic Digest. It's a free subscription and I try to talk about some things related to magic books throughout the week. Let's come down to brass tacks here. I think that this set of books isn't for everyone. If you're a serious either book collector, student of magic, especially a student of card magic, then this is an indispensable resource. But it certainly comes with a hefty price tag. Marlo's magazine can only be purchased as a 6-volume set. The individual books are not available by themselves, which means that at the very least, you're going to spend $350 to obtain all 6 of them. Now, I recognize that that is a lot of money. However, that's just the cost. Whenever I think about these types of things, I try to evaluate what is the value. And in this case, one of the first things that jumped into my mind was the fact that each book at that price is less than $60. Considering the fact that there were only 300 of these ever printed of each one when Marlo originally put them out, and the fact that they've been highly sought after on the secondary market, most of these volumes would have cost you at least $350 just for one version. And it was done on older technology and wasn't nearly as nice as these books. So all in all, if you're a student of Marlo, if you've always wanted to have these magazines, now is a tremendous opportunity to own them at a fraction of the price that it would take to collect all of these magazines if you could even find them. This episode is being brought to you by Don's Magic and Books. If you don't know Don, he's an online bookseller located in Minnesota. Don and I connected a number of years ago over our shared passion over magic books, and I know that he has helped hundreds, if not thousands of you to find magic books that you've been looking for. Because not only does he carry the latest and greatest books, but he also specializes in acquiring and reselling hard to find and potentially out of print books. I know I've purchased several out of print books from him, and every time I go to his site, I'm always astounded at the incredibly reasonable prices he offers that I've definitely seen asked for a lot more money in other places. No matter what kind of books you're looking for, Don's sure to have something to pique your interest, so check out his website and shop with Don's Magic and Books this week. Let's talk for a second about the production values of the books. These are stunningly gorgeous books. The standard edition is black cloth bound with kind of an inset gilded look on the front. It's very attractive, and the interior is a creamy white paper that's reasonable thickness. I say reasonable because each one of these books is already very thick, and if you were to use very heavy paper, I can't imagine how much each one of these volumes would weigh. Each volume has its own bookmark, and at the very beginning, it has a replica of the original cover of the magazine, which in itself was a work of art. The rest of the book is black and white and is faithful to the original illustrations. I mentioned earlier there's a table of contents for each volume, but there is no cumulative index. So again, very true to the originals. On the one hand, I understand that it's tough for a lot of people to bite the bullet and purchase that much magic all at once. On the flip side, you don't have to struggle with which volume should you pick up first. You're either going to get the entire set or none of it. Let me know what you think about the value of this reprinted edition. I know that reprints are polarizing, especially for the collectors. If you've worked hard to collect the originals, you're not always pleased when something's reprinted and put out there for the masses. However, I'm personally in that latter camp that I prefer it when material is made more readily available to eager magicians who want to read, study, learn, and digest excellent magic. And from the limited amount that I have read here, I can tell that this is going to be a lifelong study, one that I'll return to again and again. While it is my first Marlo acquisition, I'm quite certain that it won't be my last, and I'm looking forward to learning some of this creative and technical card magic from the fertile mind of Ed Marlo. If you've made it this far in the video, I invite you to subscribe. As always, thank you for watching. And until next time, keep reading.